Every year, the RotoWire crew does the RotoWire Stake League draft, where the side bet's more important than the league itself. Here is Chris Liss joining me today on that podcast. We'll be right there right after this. Hey everybody, welcome to RotoWire Fantasy Sports today. Our RotoWire's fantasy football podcast, excuse me. So many different things I'm doing these days. I'm Jeff Erickson here with Chris Liss. We are brought to you by the good folks from Circa. We are excited about doing the Circa Survivor contest. I know my guest Chris Liss does Circa Survivor as well. They also do Circa Millions. We'll talk about that more later. But first, it's the RotoWire Stake League that we got to talk about. And Liss, you and I, we started this league together, and we started the side bet at Taylor's together, and it's still ongoing at like 20 years. It's awesome.
I think it was 2001 was actually the first year we did it. It might be 2000. It's definitely no later than 2002.
20 years. Yeah.
Yeah. It's pushing 25. You just don't want to be stuck paying for people. And I tried this year to do sort of a safe team, like a team that I thought would be steady. Mm-hmm. And I kind of, it's funny
totally your style.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I realized why would I be swinging for the fences in this league? There's no like overall prize. Even if you win the title, it's like a few $100. It's not much money. The whole thing is not to get stuck buying stakes. So this is like the reverse of all fantasy football. Like fantasy football is all about upside, taking risk, being aggressive. But the stake league is really about being a total nutless monkey and not, the only year out of 22 years I ever been a double buyer was the year I got Ryan Matthews and Randy Moss as my two, like half my budget. And they were both, basically didn't play that year.
Ryan Matthews.
Yeah.
Man, it's so funny. Like I was trying to think of ghosts of like running back failures of the past. Ryan Matthews, man, he's high on the list of like what we thought he could be and what he ended up being.
It's good to keep it in mind, with all these names that are bandied about this year, he was a first round pick or an early second, and it never really happened.
Yeah. So for the unfamiliar because there's a new listener even on YouTube every 12.12 microseconds. So, to describe to everyone, it's a standard fantasy football auction league, kind of standard. It's 14 teams. It's an auction league. It's PPR, half point PPR though, but actually, it's not very standard at all now that I think about it there. 3 IDPs, 1 DL, 1 linebacker, 1 DB. We have point per tackle, 3 points for sack, 5 for an interception. There's a lot of starting positions, which I like, first of all, deeper into the player pool. Only 5-man benches, too. So you'll actually get decent players on the waiver wire sometimes, despite it being a 14-man league.
Yeah, I'm counting on that running back. And
we'll talk.
So I basically punted, and I thought because I had some money left over that I would get a couple guys. And auctions are funny because you only know in retrospect. Oh, I should have gone to the mat for this guy. I can't believe I had to go to the mat for this other guy. You didn't know that at the time, right? It's impossible to know. I think I pretty much executed my strategies. Basically, spend nothing on tight end, quarterback, and anything else. Go huge on receiver. I actually got caught price enforcing on one player, and then get decent running backs with good depth. That was my strategy, and I did it. Except I didn't really get great depth at running back, and it was in part because I accidentally bought Chris Olave at 31, which everyone thought was a good deal at the time.
Yep.
But I don't like Chris Olave, and I really thought the guys who get drafted in the NFBC now. I guess half PPR versus full, it's a little different. But the guys who were getting drafted mid-second, where he goes in the NFFC, we're going for like 36, 38. So I said 31. I didn't think it would stick, and it did.
Yep. Well, I've just pulled up the screen from our auction there, so you can see the results, and you can also see it. See Chris's write-up on realmansports.com. And of course, RotoWire, Joe Bartle has already written it up as well. You can check that out. We'll refer to it copiously there. So you say you don't like Chris Olave. You were caught price enforcing. You were caught price enforcing with me, and I was price enforcing you, by the way.
Chris Olave. So you didn't want him at 30 either?
I did. I was very uncomfortable. I was like, I'll take him at 30, but I really don't want that.
I already had Chase and CeeDee Lamb. So I was like,
both guys good buy, by the way. Yeah. It was, compared to other receivers in that range. He's a mid-second round player, but I have some reservations about him. But let's talk a little about that there. It's a new offensive coordinator this year, but it's check down specialist Derek Carr throwing it to him, and that hasn't changed, and that scares the living heck out of me. He's already had a couple of nagging aches and pains, although he did play in like the first preseason game, so he should be fine. I love his skills. I just don't love the situation there. I think he needs a better quarterback to really realize that his value. So I have him in I have him in a dynasty league, won't let go of him. And yet I have my reservations about him this year.
Yeah, I mean, I think the situation's good, right? Because it's indoors. It's like a fast surface. They play Atlanta. They play these other indoor or good weather teams. They're not in the NFC North or something like that, or AFC North. And there's only really one other guy, Rashid Shaheed, who doesn't get as many targets as him. Like, I think there's no real tight end that matters. Like, it's like a great setup for him. And Carr isn't great, but I think he's above the threshold to support, a top receiver. I think he can pass competently, accurately. He doesn't run, which is good. That means like you don't lose any dropbacks to scrambles. The targets are going to be there for the receivers. I just think, like, as you said, he's a little injury prone. He's like 6 feet, 175. He's exactly the same build as Shaheed. I'm not even sure he's better than Shaheed. And I actually made sure to get Shaheed, which might have cost me, because I was like, I don't like Olave. I really like Shaheed, like at their respective prices. And I just, like, once I got stuck with Olave, I was like, I got to get Shaheed, because I think, like, by the end of the year, these guys could be basically number ones.
Yeah, they could. And if Shaheed does that much, that just means that their offense is better, and maybe it was a matter of getting rid of the offensive coordinator. I'm doing a pod with Chris Harris tomorrow, and I was listening to some of his previous work, and they were talking how, under the previous regime, they did no pre-snap motion at all, practically, compared to their peers. It was a very archaic, dinosaurus-esque type of offense. So maybe getting a modern offense will make Carr look less bad. Maybe that'll help Olave out quite a bit.
Yeah, and there's only two guys there, right? Michael Thomas is gone. There's no real depth. So you have two guys, and then you have Kamara, but it's like, he's just kind of washed up, in my opinion. And then the tight end, Juwan Johnson's nothing special. Maybe Taysom Hill will steal some touchdowns, but it's going to run through. It's no
coach connection to Taysom Hill anymore. We might finally see him go away a little bit too.
Well, that's true. And so, I think the offense is going to run through Olave and down the field with Shaheed.
Let's talk price enforcing. We title this 3 surefire tips to win your auction. I slassified this title here.
Yeah, it's his
but price enforcing is a tricky business. I tried to do less of it this year, because last year I got caught. I got Aaron Jones. Even worse, I got Dameon Pierce. I didn't want either of them, really. And in fact, my whole team, I was just like, and it turns out I was a buyer. I mean, it was a bad team. And I felt like that coming out of the auction too. That's the worst feeling.
You knew it was bad. You knew you had blown it. You didn't get players you wanted.
Right.
You were just like, but okay, I'll make the case for price enforcing. One is, I'm always in the draft late in Portugal time. I don't want to stay up all night. If someone's going 1 on Olave, I'm going to go, 25, because I know.
Well, that's
safe.
Fine. That's not price enforcing.
You're right. That's like, if someone gives me a 25, then I'm going to be happy regardless. But, I kind of thought 31 was like that, based on where everyone, again, where he gets drafted at the time. Those guys are going 38, Devin A-Chain, he's a running back, went for 35. He goes after Olave typically in the NFFC. Derrick Henry went for 43. Again, it's half versus full, so Henry has more value in this format, but still, like, all the guys that go around him were going way more. And so I thought 31 is safe. But the other thing is, like, I think price enforcing, it's a little bit like drafting via ADP, right? It's like saying, all right, like, this guy's fallen a whole round below ADP. I don't love this guy, but I'll take him. Right. And price enforcing, you're saying that you're willing to do that, or not give someone else the windfall and make them go up another buck. And normally that's what happens, right? They go up the extra buck, you're off the hook. But every once in a while, you sort of end up with the player like below ADP, so to speak, below price. The thing you can't do is misread the time in the auction that you're doing the price enforcement. Right. You're like, this guy went, this is $6 less than the guy around earlier than him. But then you realize, you've dropped off the plateau. The amount of money's less. Everybody's going cheaper now. And then you're price enforcing based on like the wrong paradigm. And then you always get caught in that situation.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the timing of the auction was fine. In fact, in a couple instances there, swooping in and getting that price is actually kind of key. And it might work for you. I mean, and we're going to talk about the guy that I think you really got a total steal on in a second. But um, there's plenty of money out there at that time. It's just sometimes you find a lull. Sometimes there's that thing. And I noticed the bidding slowing down. It was me and you. And I was like, I'll take him for 30. I like I said, I like him. I just don't like the situation. But at the same time, like, I'm not going one more dollar because I know Liss is going to stop. He's probably bidding me up thinking I really want him. And I had an idea that
I didn't even know it was, I don't remember it was you. I just thought somebody in the room would get it to 33, 34, and then it might stop. And I was just like, I'm going to do my part to, to bilk these guys out of their money, right? Like, that's part of it. It's like, if you're price enforcing throughout the draft, you're taking $1 from this guy, $1 from that guy, $1 from that guy. And if you get caught, hopefully you get caught with a good value, right? And you're constantly taking money from everybody, making them earn it, making them pay for it, not letting them get a cheapie. I love shoes bidding on a bill. I like to go the extra buck. And there's that whole game where they think, oh, it's a giant. Liss will go the extra buck. And then I do. And then they go one extra and then I don't. And it's like, okay, you want to play that game. You're taking a risk. I might not do it.
It's the Saquon Barkley game. Until this
Ken
year.
Kreitz did it to me a couple times.
Many times. Yeah. And the thing is, you're an open book. You have your podcast, you have your ranks that you did your snarky 150, which is a must read, by the way. Go check out realmansports.com. You can check that out. Point is, you make it clear who you like. I'm the same way. Most of the people in this draft are the same way. There's a few that don't have that burden of lists and ranks and all that. And so we don't always know their players, but typically we know their players. So yeah, there's a lot of that going on. And that's a beautiful thing too about a mature league, is that you really can push each other up. I think the other thing with price enforcing, like you said, is, knowing the timing and, the mechanics of it, knowing how much to jump bid to. Sometimes people over jump bid and they'll just, you'll get stuck with it. I've famously, you remember AL Towers. I think you might've been doing mix this year, but you were there. It's the year that we were doing it at the Taxpayer Field. We did the
oh my God, that was the worst.
I jumped Joe Mauer right out of the chute to $30 the year after his big year, and it just froze. It's like, know your league. Chris is so disgusted by that he jumped out of the room. We'll get him back here in a second there, but very disgusting moment there. But clearly, so yeah, when you're doing your jump bidding, that's an important thing to do. Before we get Chris back, let's share a quick note from our friends at Fantasy Sports Knockout. Fantasy Sports Knockout, where a fantasy league meets a knockout pool, an innovative take on fantasy football. The concept is simple. Choose a new fantasy lineup each week and score points the same way you would in any fantasy league. But you must choose your players wisely. You can only use each player one time. The lowest weekly score or group of scores is eliminated from the contest every week. The concept may be simple, but survival is not. How will you play? Load up early or play the matchups and save the better players for later? Fantasy Sports Knockout. Can you survive the fantasy? Sign up at play.fantasysportsknockout.com today. I'm here with Chris Liss, and let's bring him back in. There we are. Hey, welcome back, Chris.
What happened? Are you guys have an earthquake again? What happened just there?
It was all on your side there, my friend.
It was weird. That was very weird. It disappeared.
You were so disgusted with my Joe Mauer jump bid that you had to leave the room for a second. I get it there. Collect yourself and all that. Or maybe the fact it was at Taxpayer Field, but
no, that was because I honestly, like, I was so hungover that morning. I did something so stupid. I went out till like 5 a.m. and
isn't that the year you won?
No. I finished last place that year. The year I won, we're in that crab shack place. It was like freezing. The air conditioning was like so high. We're all wearing like jackets. But that was one of the years I won. But
you won the mixed. I remember you were in the mixed.
No. That year I was in the NL. I was in the NL. I was in the NL.
Okay.
And American Taxpayer. It was literally my worst auction ever. And I was in no condition to just exist, let alone, sit in a room and auction. It was horrible. That was a horrible time. Yeah.
All right. So we were talking about price enforcing, and it goes with it there. Generally preparing for your auction, I think, is really important. You don't necessarily have to map out exactly what you're going to do. I'm going to spend $100 on wide receivers. I kind of like slotting a little bit. I don't think it's necessary, but you should have like an idea, a general plan of what you want to do going into it there.
I mean, sometimes I do. I did this draft. I did it, consciously. I mean, I could have adapted, if I'd gotten Breece Hall, say I price and force and got him instead of CeeDee Lamb. I mean, it could have gone either way, but I was probably going to get receivers and do it this way. But, I've gone in and just said, I'm going to buy 4 players I like, just 4 studs I like.
The plan.
The plan. I you can't do 4 in this league, but you can get 3, and go big. And then spend, 2/3 of your money, and then keep your mouth shut, and then, wait till you're back, in the competitive bidding where you have more money than people, and then start to fill out the rest of your roster. You don't have to have a specific plan, but I do think QBs,
knowing you're going to do that even is prep, though. In a way,
it's something, and I think you got to know the QB market. I really think going, last year I had Purdy for $1 and Goff for $2 in the end game, and those guys were both top 10. Yeah. Top 10 QBs. And, this year I got Tua for $3 and Danny Dimes for $1. And, I just was like, I was trying to get Anthony Richardson, and then he kind of got out of range. There's some running quarterbacks do better in this. He went for 13. I thought that was a good price for him. But, once those guys were gone, I was like, I'm spending just a couple bucks on QBs.
Yeah. I like that too. And in this league in particular, 14 teams, it's a point for every 20, not 25 or anything, but it's only 4 points for a passing touchdown. Kind of makes sense to save on QBs here a little bit there. I didn't quite go as cheap as you, but I went a lot cheaper than last year, where I think I got like $20 right out of the chute on. I forget which good quarterback it was, but it didn't make, it wasn't, I didn't make money off of that. Let's just put it that way. And it was another mistake I made.
Justin Fields.
It was Justin Fields. Holy cow. It was way worse than I thought. Yeah, it was terrible. It was a disaster. That's right. Thank you for reminding me of my disaster. But
did anyone draft Justin Fields? I almost took him. I took Dimes over him, but I almost took Justin Fields for $1.
I don't know off the top of my head.
I don't see it on the benches. I don't think
I did take JJ McCarthy though. I did see that.
Oh yeah.
Sam Darnold. Anybody take Sam Darnold? Someone will pick up Sam Darnold, but I think Fields for $1 is fine. I took but instead this year I did do Dak. I got him at a reasonable price, I thought, at 9, and then for a rare thing that I usually don't often do is I did go $4 on Jaden Daniels, because I think that Daniels and Caleb Williams both, I'm willing to kind of take a chance at there, especially when I don't have to use them those first couple of weeks and kind of wait and see. But sometimes a rookie quarterback can be a league winner. We saw it with CJ Stroud last year. We saw, I think of like the Cam Newton rookie year. There's a couple of rookie year quarterbacks where it can be great, especially in the case of Daniels, because he runs so much, and a running quarterback can be pretty gold.
Well, in this format, especially, as you said, a point every 25 yards passing, only 4 points per passing touchdown, point every 10 yards rushing.
Yeah.
So you want running quarterbacks. That's why I took Dimes. I think Dimes is going to be good. He was good 2 years ago. He was just hurt last year, and the offensive line was bad. They got Neighbors. That's a huge game-changing upgrade.
Yep.
Wan'Dale Robinson's a good gadget guy. They got Jalen Hyatt in year 2 going deep. They have like depth finally at receiver. I think Dimes will, throw 22 touchdowns and get, 750 rushing. I mean, he could have a huge year.
Yeah. I think he could too. I think it's going to be interesting to see, what happens. I mean, he looked terrible early in training camp, but so does everybody early in training camp.
I mean, he was good. I mean, I don't think he's the answer really, but he was good in 2022. He was actually a good quarterback with terrible guys around him. And he's a couple years in the Dable system now. Maybe he just sucks and that's the end of it. But I'm not like, he's beyond like training camp matters for evaluating him.
Yeah.
It's like, he's not a rookie. He's not a guy. He's not, even Sam Darnold. I don't really, those guys have been around now for a while. Like just, kind of who they are. I think Darnold has like a little bit of fantasy upside too, actually, in that situation.
Right.
Although, Jordan Addison was just carted off today.
I did see that when McCarthy out for the year has been a bad day for the Vikings for sure. I'm kind of down on Addison already. something Sammy Hagar. I don't know, but
Yeah, that was my joke. And you know, how fast were they driving the cart? How fast when he got carted off?
Oh, was it a Jamal Charles carting off, or was it an actual carting off?
Right. Well, you know what? Tyrone Tracy, the Giants backup, he got sent to the hospital, taken off in a cart, sent to the hospital, and they're like, "Oh, he's got a low ankle sprain."
Yeah,
and everyone was like, "Oh, he must be out for the year." But maybe it's a severe low ankle sprain. I don't know, but it seems like it's not that big of a deal.
We're recommending amputation, but we'll see.
Prosthetics are good now.
Yeah, they are. They're really good. Talking more about just the setup here for the auctions. I kind of got sidetracked there a little bit, but so yeah, you went super cheap, but then again, you bought 4 receivers in this. Two elite ones. We talked about Olave, and then one of the bargains of the draft. I don't even love Stefon Diggs this year. I've made a case that I think he should be end of the 3rd round. You've got him as your wide receiver 9, though, and that's Stefon Diggs for $22. And I think this is a classic when he came up sort of situation. Because later in the auction, there were much lesser wide receivers going for the same price.
It was weird. It was like at 18, I jumped to 22, and everybody just crickets. And I was like, wow, maybe I could have got him for 21 or 20. But here's my case for Diggs. I made this to Sislowski, and he said I lowered him, and he couldn't argue, but he didn't agree. But Diggs, was a 1st-round pick the last 4 years and earned it every year, like easily. And then the first half of last year, he was having his best year ever. If you had Diggs week 6, you're like, that's the 1.1 basically. I mean, he was incredibly good. And then second half, he totally fell off a cliff, and he was 29 last year. He's 30 this year. And everyone's like, oh, I guess he's washed up, and they ran him out of Buffalo. But his fall off it wasn't just random. It coincided with a play calling change where Josh Allen was running a lot more. Diggs was disgruntled. He wasn't happy with the routes, his target share. The whole thing just changed for him. Somebody changed something, and it didn't work out well, and he didn't take it well. So then they get rid of him, and he goes to Houston. Houston's paying him $22.5 million on a 1-year deal. He's 30. He's not 32. He's 6 feet 190. He's not 6'3", 230, where those guys get old and they start to fall apart like Julio Jones or Andre Johnson. And unless you think that he just somehow in the middle of age 29 season, being like one of the elite receivers in the league, just forgot how to play football or something. And he's paired with maybe the best quarterback in the, one of the top 3 or 4 passing quarterbacks in the league. And, if I'm betting on who's going to lead the league in passing yards, it's probably CJ Stroud. Mm-hmm. And, Nico Collins got 109 targets. He's a good player, but he's not like some superstar. And Tank Dell is a nice player, but he weighs 165 pounds. I think Diggs is going to get, 100 catches again. I mean, what? I don't understand why they pay him $22 million, age 30. The guy knows how to play football, knows how to get open, knows how to run routes as well as anyone in the league. Stroud is going to find this guy. It just seems like, I'm just like, I think he's like vastly mispriced going at the end of the 3rd round. I've got him in all 3 leagues so far.
So I thought he was going into the 2nd round earlier on. So maybe maybe the consensus is that he's dropped. I don't like being part of the consensus. I thought I was below everybody on Diggs for a while. Now it seems like I'm at consensus, which
36, 37 is around his ADP rating.
That's where I have him ranked. And I wanted to be lower than the world, but
why are you doing him so much?
You don't like it sometimes. You want to, what I'm saying is like, I don't feel validated necessarily. I just like now I don't see anybody else. No one's reaching for him. So that means therefore I'm probably wrong. It's a weird, perverse sort of reverse sort of thing.
Right. If someone's reaching, you're like, lucky I didn't have to reach for that guy. Yeah. He's overrated. And you feel like you've made a call on it. You haven't made any call. You're just part of the herd, Jeff.
I am. I don't like that. And at any rate, 22 is just silly. It's just, that's compared to
Higgins for 23, right? Higgins.
Yeah. And I thought the prices at that point were too high, but I just had to get a receiver there. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to pay it. And I'm going to pay it now instead of waiting to get a marginally less one. And hopefully I get him for 18. No, I wasn't going to do that. I wanted to I'm just going to go ahead and get my guy now. Get a guy I like. Walkier for him as well. I think, who knows how this Chase thing plays out, but I don't expect it to play into the regular season, but who knows? Maybe it does. If that's the case, then Higgins goes nuts, obviously. So it's one of those where I'm kind of like, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how it works out. But I thought it was an interesting thing to kind of just see where the receiver prices were going. They were going a little higher. Like Chris Godwin went for 23 later. I like Chris Godwin too, but I thought that was a little interesting on the price.
Ridley went for 22. Amari Cooper went for 25. Tank Dell went for 22.
Yep.
Terry McLaurin went for 22.
So that was just the going rate. And sometimes you just got to pay the going rate. You're not going to get your.
I like Higgins. Higgins was going in the second round, last year and the year before. And yeah, he disappointed and he rugged people hard a couple of years. One of them was partly, he did it twice. He was a scratch when nobody knew after the game started. And then the DeMar Hamlin game where all the Bengals rugged you. So like Higgins, if you had Higgins, you were toast. You couldn't possibly have a good year in 2022. But Higgins is still young. He's still got Burrow. There's only, there's a rookie there, but it's just two guys really. I mean, there's no, Mike Gesicki or whatever. I mean, it's still, though, Higgins can still get 1,200 yards and 10 touchdowns in a full season.
Yeah, he could. He can. I'm weirdly, a lot of bad things are kind of sneaky bad things have happened for the Bengals already this training camp. Not as bad as last year, but yet I still feel like I could feel pretty good. I mean, Bengals schedule is so good this year. If you look at the Vegas projected win totals, I think they play like 7 of the 9 lowest teams. If they're not getting it done this year, it's not because of the schedule, that's for sure. It's because they're not that good. So we'll see how that plays out. But anyways, I thought it was noteworthy. We'll talk running back prices here in a second. But first, quick note from our friends at Circa. The biggest pro football contests in Vegas are back. Circa Survivor and Circa Million are now up to 16 million in guaranteed prizes. 2 ways to win and no rake. Circa Survivor contestants select one team each week with no point spread. Last the longest to win it all with $10 million guaranteed. In Circa Million, make 5 picks against the spread each week for your share of $6 million guaranteed, quarterly and full season payouts. Enter in Nevada, play from anywhere. Visit circasports.com for details. Also, we're on the Blue Wire Network. Here are their ads. All right. Welcome back. Thanks for everyone who is indulging our ads there. With Chris Liss from realmansports.com and his Substack there. Chris, let everybody know what you're doing over there.
Yeah, sorry, I got a bit of a cold. I am just basically writing up my drafts. Going to have my 10 bold predictions up at some point in the next couple of weeks. I'm actually going to Argentina tomorrow, so I'm going to be doing work from a hotel there for a bit. But yeah, I'm just basically reviewing what's going on and talking about it like everybody else. The site is realmansports.com. It is free to sign up. It's a Substack. And if you want everything, you can pay for it and make that decision after you sign up. Again, it's realmansports.com.
All right. Very good. I decided to go running back anchor this year. I've been doing that a lot of my snake drafts too. I wanted to get either one of Breece Hall or Bijan Robinson, so long it didn't go like over 50 or something like that. It barely made it, but I got Breece Hall for 49. I think Bijan went afterward for 48 to Genstat, if I recall correctly. I was happy. I would have been happy with that price too, but I wanted to go with one of those and go cheap on my other running backs. That was the way I wanted to play it. I didn't want to get stuck with those middling guys that I got stuck with last year.
Yeah, you got one of your guys. I mean, I had Bijan last year. It was a little disappointing. It wasn't terrible, but didn't really earn what I paid. But this year I was trying to get, a bunch of middling running backs, and I had to go to the mat for Brian Robinson, who I kind of like, but I didn't want to go to the mat for him. And Jerome Ford, it's kind of scrubs, but it is what it is. In an auction, you choose early and you deal late. It's like you choose early and you settle late. Whereas in a draft, it's a bit different. You have, it's sort of like there's a mix of it, but in an auction, like you just can't choose at the end. Like the room is going to choose for you, and you're going to have to adapt to it.
Right. Especially like if you don't control the end game, and sometimes you do that. I don't always. And I didn't necessarily hear, although I only have one $1 player, but for second running back, I'm really scraping right now. And I knew I was going to be the case in a 14 team auction league. The guys that I usually get like in the 7th or 8th round as my RB2, they were going for like $20. It's just like, no, I can't do it. You mentioned Brian Robinson. It's someone I kind of like, but he's in a timeshare with Eckler. He went for 16. I thought that was actually a pretty good price. I was ticked that you got Jerome Ford for 11. I actually really like that. I think he'd be a perfect RB2. in that scenario there. It would be nice to have Chubb to go with them, but I don't think he was.
I tried to get Chubb, but he got bid up to like 14 or something like that, so I couldn't do it. And if I wasn't insistent on getting, I guess I kind of compounded my Olave mistake because I was insistent on getting Rashid Shaheed for 5. Because I just was like, I don't want Olave. I like Shaheed. I want to just back him up, in case something happens.
Isn't it so funny how little things like that happen in auctions that you're just like, no, I must get him.
Well, I got him in all my leagues and I like him, but I was just sort of, especially because I got Olave and I didn't want him. I could probably trade Olave for somebody who's like $27, like some running back if I wanted to.
Right. So, and we're kind of shopping in that same market, for for the, just to try to find that second running back there, first running back in your case, and then third and fourth. Like I went super cheap. I went Charbonnet and Trey Benson, who I was like, okay, that's a happy $5 win. I'll take that there. But
you outbid me for Trey Benson. I was in on it. There's guys like that. You don't know.
Henry Miller, Kimani Vidal. I might cut all of them. Who knows? But I might hit on one of them too. And if I hit on one of them, I feel great. And I know you, with your 4 receivers, you're feeling that way too.
Oh yeah, I just need like 1.5 running backs, and I'm gonna definitely be eating for free. I mean, assuming Chase and CeeDee Lamb, don't hold out the whole year. But it is, in this league, because we're used to the NFFC where there's 10-man benches, and like you need to like build your running back depth on your own roster. There's tons of running backs on waivers right now that you can pay for and speculate on all year. So if you're gonna come out weak somewhere, I think having that second running back, or even both running backs, is viable, like, because you're going to be able to get some, right? And it's very hard to get receivers on the waivers in this league, like quality receivers. You can get running backs, you can get quarterbacks, obviously IDPs, even tight ends. You can sometimes get someone decent, but the receivers are the hardest thing to actually pick up.
Yeah, I agree. I almost wish the one thing I regret about the Jaden Daniels buy, I think it's a good play. I still think it's something I'm glad I did, but at the same time, like I couldn't afford another receiver on my bench. That was like, I've got my flex is my 4th receiver, and that's it. I actually was pretty happy with the Rome Odunze price, given the price of other rookie wide receivers, given, how early he was drafted. I think he's going to be good this year, but we'll see.
Yeah. DJ Moore just got left with an injury. I don't know if it's serious, but really? Yeah,
I didn't see that.
I thought fact check me on this, because I thought I saw that somewhere.
There's a site called RotoWire that might have that. I will.
They might.
RotoWire.com/pod. You get that free trial peek behind the paywall there. Haven't seen the news on Moore yet. I know I saw the Addison thing earlier there, but
let me see. Let me just search it on Twitter.
Yeah, we'll do the same. It'll be great live broadcasting there as we're searching on the computer. But yeah, we'll see what happens here. But with that, but nonetheless, I mean, he's back on. I saw find out he is back on the field after he got hurt briefly there.
Okay, it's nothing. It just like got shaken up, maybe.
Yeah, I think that was just it. But we'll see. I think that I think there's room for 3. I mean, I think Caleb Williams is going to shred this year. And I think that there's room for these guys. I think Keenan Allen's the guy I'd fade of those 3 receivers. Yeah.
I like Odunze too. I like the price you got. I got him in my first beat Chris Liss. And I mean, we'll see how good he is, but if he is sort of that top 10 overall receiver prospect that he seems to be, the analogy I made was the Jake Reed, Chris Carter, 1998 Vikings, and they draft this guy Randy Moss, who was the 17th overall pick, and everyone's like, that's a reach. Like Jake Reed and Chris Carter there, like where and this was like back in the day where 3 receiver sets, like that wasn't like a thing. The
Angels have Vernon Wells and Bobby Abreu there.
Yeah. Where are they gonna play? We talked about this specifically, and then like if the guy's good, he's good, and so yeah, and Caleb Williams is a rookie, so it's not like he's got this rapport with DJ Moore and there's a new rookie coming in. They're all kind of starting from scratch. I always like that with new players. Like we don't know who Caleb Williams is going to like be most comfortable with. It'd probably be DJ Moore because he's good, but we don't know.
Right. Yeah, that's true. It is absolutely true. It's interesting to see like how the prices went. for those running backs. Otherwise, I was kind of happy with the way the build was there, but it's always kind of scary as you're trying to fill that out and hope it makes work. You mentioned something earlier. You identify 3 or 4 guys you want to get, and then you stay quiet. The staying quiet part, the not jumping in on the bidding when you see someone getting a price that you don't think they should get. That's the toughest thing to do in auctions, in my opinion.
Well, you walk the line between moving it along, price enforcing lightly. Mm-hmm. But again, it's the middle of the auctions where it's very precarious, where there's a paradigm shift, and we're not all of a sudden in first and second round territory where we're going 45, 42, 41, 40. It just all of a sudden there's a drop. And now, one guy goes 27, but the next guy's going 14, 12, 9. And you're like, holy shit, how did this guy go for 9? Well, because the money's off the board. We just had a paradigm shift in the draft. And in the middle of the draft, when you have, $53 left out of 200 and you've only got a few players because you went big early, you just can't get that $22 guy price enforcing when not only is that not a good price, you didn't realize that now the guys his level are going for 15 after that. So you blew your budget and you didn't get a good price. You got to get in and be like 9, 10, 11, and then let it go and be like, okay, I think this guy's worth at least 15, 16 at this time, but I got it to 11 and somebody's going to save a few bucks. I hope someone else price enforces, but I can't do it now. And you got to really pick your spots, but then also you can screw up. And, I let Ramondre Stevenson go because I was in that situation, and I think Len got him. Was it Len? Yeah, he got him for 18. Yeah, and I love Ramondre Stevenson. And I would have gone 19 if I knew Brian Robinson would be 16, but I thought Brian Robinson would be 9. So I let Ramondre go. And, I misunderstood how much. It's very hard because you can be like, oh, I have enough money left, I saved. But then, like, you don't look at every single person's roster. So, like, say Jenstad has like $30 left and I've got 47, but maybe only.
Yeah. We lost Chris for a second there. Hopefully he jumps back in soon. But I think the point, I think what he was trying to say is, you need to know how much you have left and how many spots you have to that the player has left. I think those are 2 very important things when you're dealing with that there. Absolutely agree. And I thought one thing about this auction, and every auction is different, is the bargains never really came. I'll get Chris's opinion on that when he comes back here. In fact, he's here. So we'll see what he thinks, but
it is my fault. It's a VPN that I hooked up and it gave me a message like
you're breaking the law again. Is that what was that the message? Like,
I like my privacy, so I have a VPN, but apparently like StreamYard doesn't like the VPN. So,
okay. That's weird though. We've done plenty of things on StreamYard together.
No, I just turned on, this is a Proton Mail VPN and I just started using it. And for some reason doesn't like this one.
All right. So you were saying like you have to, when you're in the in game, you don't look at just how much you have left. You have to look at what everybody else has left, not just dollars, but also spots. Look at their max bids if you can. I mean, there's a lot of variables going on.
And you don't want to you got to focus, right? So in the drafts moving fast, you don't want to if you have 2 screens and you do it really good, you can maybe at a glance kind of see it where everyone is, but you still don't really know if they're going to go almost max bid on one guy or going to spread it around. And are they going to go max bid in dollar days? Or are they going to spread it around? You don't know. So if guys are going max bid, you think you're controlling the end game, but you're not, because this guy's going to go 14 when he's got $18 left. And so you have 45, but you got 8 slots to fill. You're not going to go much higher than 14 yourself. So auctions are tough. That's why I always love getting a few stars early, because it just kind of means you're never going to be left holding the bag with extra money. You're going to get the key values that you need to get. And then the cost of doing that is just, you're not going to be able to choose who you're filling out your roster with. It's going to be dictated to you. And I felt like I did a good job of being like, all right, I'm going to the mat for Brian Robinson. It could have been worse, right? Like, I'm going to the mat for Jerome Ford. It could have been worse. You got to have the instinct to say, this isn't the guy that I remotely wanted on my team, but given what's left, I need to push the button now, and I need to be aggressive here and just get him. And then you have even less money, and then you even get more dictated to, but that's okay. You got the guys that were good that you wanted. You filled out so that you don't have any real holes. And then you're just sort of making the best of it at the very end. And that's just the best you can do. Like, there's no, you're not omniscient. You don't know what's going to happen. You don't know what other people are going to do. You don't know who's waiting on that one player. Right. So it's just, and once you accept that, you can be more relaxed and kind of be flexible as the auction goes on.
Yep, exactly. One thing I noticed this year, and I was saying this when you were working your way back, I don't see if you agree on this. I didn't think there were too many of those. Oh my God, how did we let him get this guy for this price? And I didn't think there was too many like ridiculous end game bargains. I thought that people paid at every stage. There were, I think maybe the elite players might have been cheap, if anything, there, because I didn't find that there was too many like, oh, he has so much money left and he picked up all these great bargains. No, you had to fight for Brian Robinson. People, Stevenson might have been a little cheap. There might have been a couple here, a couple bucks here and there. There wasn't like that $12 player that went for $3 or a $20 player that went for 11. I didn't find like too many of those.
Yeah, Diggs at 22 maybe.
Yeah,
but no, there really weren't. I mean, and I was hoping it would be me picking up those players at the very end, and it wasn't. That's what happened. I was like, shit, I'm going to fight for Brian Robinson now. And I was hoping to get, Ramondre and maybe get both Ford and Chubb. Like that would have been ideal, right? I get both Browns running backs and I get Ramondre. Those are my backs with the elite receivers. I'm good. But I couldn't pull that off, and so I had to, downgrade. And yeah, you're right. Nobody really, I thought Shu got a good price on Waddle for 29. I thought that was pretty good.
But again, that's that I'm talking like that's not an end game guy though,
and that's also not a steal. That's like a couple bucks,
Yeah. Maybe Gus Edwards for 8 was a good deal. I don't know.
I don't. Gus Edwards is 29 years old, and
yeah. But as a case in point, like, oh, I'll snag Chase Brown for 5. No, he went for 13. You had to fight for him. And that's good because I couldn't, if I can't afford it, at least people are paying up. I like seeing that, but
it felt like everybody was like unhappy with their auction in a way. Like the whole room was kind of like, I didn't really get. It was a tough auction. It was like actually I felt like it was just a tough room. Like you
agree.
You just had to, adapt and do your best. There was no like, oh, this is going to be easy.
There were the same people, exact 14 teams from last year, which I think was the same exact 14 teams in year 4. It's a mature league. That helps too. Fewer soft spots, if you will. And just a lot of people that have done this before. It wasn't their first rodeo. So it's always fun to see that there. We're going to talk a little travel here, but first, quick note from our last sponsor today. It is Fantrax. Is there something you wish your fantasy league had or features that are missing from your current leagues? Bonus scoring, custom schedules or playoffs, deeper team settings? Well, look no further because we have you covered with our friends at Fantrax. Fantrax is the most customizable fantasy platform in the industry, offering the greatest fantasy experience for your dynasty, keeper, redraft, and best ball leagues. Fantrax even offers college fantasy football leagues. Create or join a fantasy football commissioner league, invite your friends, and dominate your draft this season. Fantrax is the top dynasty fantasy football platform in the industry. Coming from another service? Not a problem. Fantrax can easily import any of your current leagues and rosters. Ever have a trade go wrong or make a mistake in dropping a player? Fantrax commissioner tools allow you to undo any move with one simple click. Fantrax is running a special promotion you don't want to miss. Sign up for free at fantrax.com/RotoWire today to enter for your chance to win tickets to any regular season NFL game for you and your entire league. Plus $6,000 in spending cash. That's fantrax.com/RotoWire. Simply create a new league or bring over your existing leagues for more chances to win. Go to fantrax.com/RotoWire. Sign up today. Fantrax, the home of fantasy sports. Here with Chris Liss. Chris, before we get to your travel plans, any other auction tips or anything from reflections from this particular draft? Do you want to talk IDPs at all? Is there anything else you wanted to bring up?
Yeah, I'm done with this. I don't have anything insightful to say about IDPs because I like playing with them. I don't know shit. I just have fun. Yeah. But I want to talk about the Beat Chris List 3 for a minute if you have time.
Yeah, absolutely. You were drafting from the 3 spot, if I recall correctly, right?
3 spot, and I got your guy Chase. Alan Sosowski made a video saying take Chase 1.1. And then I asked him who he would take. He's drafting 3rd also. And he said Amon-Ra St. Brown. Yeah. I'm like, what the hell? Where did that come from? Is it just like a clickbait video? Come on, you got to bet. He's like, oh, no. I'm assuming in any real draft, Chase was already gone at 3. And so I took Chase because Lamb and Hill went. I would have taken Lamb or Hill. They were both gone. I have Christian McCaffrey injury in another league. Take Chase. And then it was like a miracle. I was like Waddle or Neighbors in round 2. And I was like, I want to have Neighbors, but I don't know how many targets he's really going to get as a rookie. I'm going to take Waddle. It's just a solid professional pick. And Neighbors made it back to me in round 3, which he never gets that far.
In third round reversal, by the way.
Yeah.
Too. Not just like 5 picks later. It was 12 picks later.
And then I got Diggs in the 4th, and so this is like the ideal start. But then it got weird. And here's what happened was I was big receiver, right? And everyone, Soslovsky was trying to kill me because I drafted receivers later last time, and NFFC is receiver. It's much easier to draft if you go big receiver early.
Mm-hmm.
But the running backs got pushed up in this league. They were all going 10, 15 spots ahead of ADP. Just my luck. The league that I draft 4 receivers, the running backs get expensive. And I got Ramondre.
Luck, by the way, you created that paradigm a little bit. You were one of the people that did that, contributed to that.
Well, maybe, but I drafted 4 receivers, so that should have pushed up receivers.
No,
but
they knew that you needed running backs.
Well, Team 12, they did. Team 12 drafted 3 straight running backs to start his draft, so that that was something. Team 4 got 2 running backs. But anyway, I think I'm okay. I got enough running backs, but it was really just a very un-NFFC type of draft. It was like, and it was just like the auction that running backs all of a sudden, usually it's receivers that everyone's chasing. And I really felt that like the receivers were going below ADP in a lot of these cases, and the running backs were going above ADP. And it's never like that in the NFFC. I just thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's, going to hold for other drafts, but it was like, it made me think like there's only a couple good running backs. You get McCaffrey, and he's got a calf injury. You got Hall, Robinson, and then you go Barkley, Gibbs, Taylor, Etienne, and then you got A-Chain and Kyron Williams, who are a little sketchy. And then after that, to me, it is totally sketch, the running backs. And so people are dealing with that by just getting a lot of them, right? Because if you get a lot of them, you don't have to worry if one of them isn't good. But who do you like after those studs are gone? Like who's your guy, Jeff? If you've got
running back?
Yeah. If you once like the top 3 rounds worth are gone, you can throw in Henry and Pacheco there too as the studs.
Because Pacheco.
Yeah, no,
I got.
I'm counting him. I'm counting those guys all the way through mid-3rd. Like I don't like Rashad White or
Stevenson, James Conner.
Okay, Stevenson. Okay, I like Stevenson. Conner, I would draft. I'm not really. I'm worried he's going to get hurt.
I think you can get the Conner Benson combo, and you'll be fine. Like Conner will be. You just hope that you don't get the early in-game injury from Conner that sometimes you get.
Right.
I like David Montgomery's price a lot.
Okay.
Even before the Gibbs injury, I did. Now that Gibbs is hurt, we'll see. I mean, I don't think it's going to be serious. They were, Campbell today was like, he's fine. He's going to be fine. We're going to be okay. Something like that. Typical vague Dan Campbell-esque statement, but still, I like Chase Brown. I like a lot of backs in this range, Chris. It's like I said, I've been doing a lot of running back anchor where I'll go and get Breece Hall, and then I'll wait until RB20 to get my next one there. And I feel pretty good about some of those. You
like Chase Brown better than Zach Moss?
I've switched on that. I liked Moss better at start, but this is one where I'm buying the training camp hype a little bit there.
Okay, because I was bigger on Moss, but I don't really know. I don't have a strong.
It's small. I think Moss. I kind of like what he's done. By the way, Moss all of a sudden is RB 35 and Brown's RB 25 in the last 14 days. So I like the Moss price better now, but
right. It's almost like good news is bad news, right? Like it's like good news on Brown is good news on Moss because he's cheap. And the guy that I want to get a share. Go ahead.
One more. I've been getting a lot of Javonte Williams too.
Oh, so that's what I got. I got Ramondre and Javonte Williams as my starting running backs. 2 good running backs on crappy teams. And Javonte was bad last year, but he was coming off major knee injuries, and now he's another year removed. Mm-hmm. I like Blake Corum. I don't know anything about him except that he's on the Rams, and that I don't think that Kyron Williams is going to stay healthy, and that slot of RB1 on the Rams, with Gurley a few years ago and Kyron Williams last year is just so valuable. Sean McVay's guy. It was kind of like Mike Tomlin's guy back in the day where Tomlin would just have one guy and Le'Veon Bell or D'Angelo Williams. It didn't matter. And so I think Corum has a lot of upside because of that. And I don't know. I've been, obviously everyone's shopping in this range. Jerome Ford, I got another share of.
I think the Browns and the Chargers are fascinating because I think both teams are going to try to run the ball a lot. They both have above average offensive lines. I think the Chargers do after they invested in it this offseason. We'll see. And it's Harbaugh. I think everybody thinks, okay, he's going to fix that offensive line. They're going to run the ball. But their running backs are going so late. Chubb and Ford are 36 and 37 respectively in the NFFC since August 1st. The Chargers backs, Edwards, Dobbins, and Vidal are 40, 44, and 55. So, I mean, eminently affordable. It's just a question, can you get the right one?
Well, I got two of them. I got Dobbins and Vidal.
Yeah.
And Edwards, I think, is you can't use him in this. I mean, unless he's like Derrick Henry and he scores like 18 touchdowns, which I mean, it's possible, but unless he does something like that, he's just not going to catch passes. So, Dobbins is always hurt, but I took him, and I took Vidal because if Edwards, he's 29, he sucks. Vidal, by the way, is 5'8", 215 and ran like a 4.46. So like he should be good. Like he looks the part, obviously it's not just about that, but I mean, he's got like the perfect, pass catching running back build. I got to share him too.
Indeed. You're about to go to Argentina. Why Argentina?
We wanted to check it out as a, just sort of like a place to invest in. And because when Javier Milei got elected, Heather used to live there, and the regime that preceded him was like for the last 50 years, like the family that ran it was so corrupt, like unbelievable, like the inflation, they just basically stole from the public trust. So now you've got a guy, he may be full of shit or not, we don't really know yet, but he's making reforms, inflation's down, and we kind of knew how to navigate it. Because she had lived there and she had contacts, and it's very like capital controls there are crazy. So we invested in a place there, and now we're going down to see it and, supervise it and meet like the people who are really cool, at least on, Zoom or whatever, and spend a couple of weeks. Also, Heather's got work there. So we're going to stay in this fancy hotel for free where her work thing is going, and her ticket is free. So that was nice. So Sasha and I are going to, but it's winter there. That's the catch. August is winter in the Southern Hemisphere. So I got to find some like outdoor snow kind of stuff to do maybe, or I don't know what we're going to do, but it's a super nice resort. So it should be, well, at the very least we'll like play sports and do something. So,
yeah, you and I are similar in one thing that we both like to get to the airport plenty in time, especially the longer the flight, the earlier I want to get there. And because I just don't want to I'm so paranoid about missing flights, and Heather and Kim are not that. It's an ongoing battle to get there in ample amount of time, so we're not sweating it.
One time we took this is like 10 years ago, we were going from France to the UK in the the train that goes under the channel, and Heather cut it so close that I was literally summer. I had a stroller when Sasha was a baby. I had like 2 giant suitcases and a shoulder bag, and I had to run those trains. They're like basically a kilometer long. Sprint with all this stuff on. By the time I got to the thing, I was like, I took a shower with my clothes on. That's how much I was sweating. And I was like, never again. Like, this is just not, I don't want to live like this, sprinting with all these bags. And so we get in the same fight. We'll be like, oh, we're supposed to leave at 7:30 a.m. It's 7:29 and her suitcase is still not closed. There's toiletries still in the bathroom. I'm like, come on, just get, and then we get into a fight about it. And then when we get there, we use 95% of the time we have plenty of time. She's like, see, I told you it'd be fine. And I always say, yeah, the downside of me being wrong, which is going to be usually, is we have an hour to kill at the airport, like no big deal. The downside of you being wrong is like we're sweating, stressing, rushing, or worst case, miss the plane. Like it's like you always want to, it's just like, poker, you don't want to like risk a lot to win a little, right? I'd rather lose a little time to save a lot, of hassle. And she just doesn't see that. She doesn't leave leeway for traffic. She's like, oh, this isn't going to take. I'm like, you don't know you don't know the obstacles. You don't know security. You don't know
how long it takes to get to an airport that you don't normally get to. Or in the case of LAX, you still don't know how long it's going to take because LAX is just hell on earth. It's maybe my least favorite airport in the world. I hate getting to LAX, hate parking there. Just brutal. Brutal. I can't stand it.
One good thing about Lisbon's 15 minutes from our house, which is nice. You could take a subway there in like 20 minutes easily. And, but in the interior of the airport is shit also. But LAX, sometimes you get to LAX and you get to like the beginning, 1 where like Southwest is, and you got to go to 6 and you're stuck in traffic in the airport, like in the actual airport for like 20 minutes just to go.
You don't have to tell me. I know. I know. Well, one of the flights we had to take, we're cutting it so tight. We had to park at the short-term parking garage right across the terminal. It's like, rich people parking basically.
Right.
And it's like, it was kind of punishment for being behind, but
they charge you to go away for a few days. It's like $200.
We would have not made the flight had we not done that though.
Right.
It was like, it was essential that we had done that, but it's like $50 a day or something like that. It's like the cost of a flight ticket, plane ticket there, but you just have to do it sometimes there, but it's the people that always can expense it. They park there, no problem, as long as their employer doesn't scrutinize.
Tim Schuler's not covering that, Jeff. He's not going to pay back for that.
No, bro, what happened here? No, but it's funny. So hey, we'll look forward to seeing your posts from the road. Looking forward to seeing some pictures from Argentina in wintertime too. Let's see them.
Yeah, I'll post some of those. All right, man. Well, good talking to you, Jeff.
Yeah. Make sure to check out realmansports.com. Check out Circa's contest. Thanks to our friends at Fantrax as well, and Fantasy Sports Knockout. Tomorrow, we've got who do we have tomorrow? I think it's John and Mario tomorrow. I got to get our schedule down pat. I know it for baseball.
Someone will be on. Don't worry about it. It'll be fine.
We have podcasts every single day here on RotoWire, so make sure to check them all out. Thanks everybody for listening. Take care.